Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It is 12 o'clock on a Sunday, which means it's time for a Q&A. Now, this is where I take all the questions that you've asked over the course of the week and I try to answer them to the best of my ability. First of all, like I always say every Sunday, thank you so much for supporting the channel. The reason I do this is because of you guys. If you weren't watching these videos, I would not do it. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Now, if you've never seen a Q&A before, you get my raw and filtered opinion. So in other words, I haven't read these beforehand. I don't know what's going on. I'm going to literally read them and give you the answer straight away. If I think it's going to take too long to answer a question, I'll do an in-depth video at some point in the future. So make sure you keep an eye out for that. Also, try and get your questions in by, well, really by Monday or Tuesday. I typically film these on a Tuesday, sometimes Wednesday. Today, it's actually Thursday morning that I'm filming this, and that's rare. If you want to get your questions in, really try to get them in on the Monday, and then I'll get answering them. If I don't answer the question or if I miss it, I'm very sorry. Leave it in the comments of this video, and I'll get back to it next week. Now, with that all being said, there's a lot of questions this week. I've just looked. There's a lot. So I'm going to get straight into it. Without further ado, welcome to this week's Q&A. Okay, so the first question is from Andy Putt, who says, question, where is Adam Wilber? I saw Alakazam have the rights for colour psychology now. Is he doing well? He releases amazing magic, but I'm kind of worried. Adam is absolutely fine. I speak to Adam quite a lot, and you're right, he's one of the best creators in magic. I think it's fairly common knowledge now, but he's decided to kind of wind down Vulpine Productions for a few different reasons. It's not my place to say why, but if you don't know, Adam's been creating magic his entire life. He was the managing director of Illusionist for a while, and then after leaving Illusionist, he set up Vulpine. Vulpine have basically released some of the best tricks ever as far as I'm concerned. An incredible production company. Both Adam and his business partner Felix did a great job, and they set out what they intended to do. But Adam's a busy performer. Sometimes people forget that because he's so well known as a creator. He's also a busy performer, and sometimes it's very difficult to be a creator and a performer and at the same time run a production company. Think about how many hats you've got to wear. You're going out gigging, traveling around the world, doing really high profile gigs, which Adam does. At the same time, doing everything that involves that's involved in the day-to-day running of a production company. So everything, packaging, prototyping, whatever, all the different stuff, and then also creating magic and doing everything else he's doing. Something kind of has to give at some point. And I think he's decided to focus on being a performer. He's still going to be creating magic. It's in his blood. He's not going to be able to stop. I just think that we'll be seeing those coming out through different companies. He's not said anything to me about that. That's where I guess is happening. And I know he's a very strong Christian, and he's producing a lot of playing cards designed for sort of the Christian community. I'm not a Christian, so I don't know much about that, but I know he's very, very busy, and I know, unfortunately, something had to give, and that something is Vulpine. But please don't worry. He's in a very good place, and I think he's doing more than he's ever done, and you know, he's decided to focus on family and health, and I think that's a wise thing to do. But you know, you're going to be seeing a lot more magic from Adam. I can pretty much guarantee it. Okay, second question from Andy Putt is, where is the Magic Podcast with Lloyd? I understand now the spring of sheeps are outside in the fields, but doesn't he need a break to do a podcast with you? Yeah, look, the Magic Podcast has not died. It's just me and Lloyd film the Magic Podcast on a Wednesday, and a Wednesday morning, then it gets edited and it gets uploaded on the Wednesday evening. And unfortunately, for like the last month and a half, our schedules haven't meshed, unfortunately. Lloyd is very busy doing with what he's doing with YouTube and Murphy's, and I'm busier now than ever before. I'm really putting a lot of focus into my entertainment companies that you guys don't really see anything about, and I've been putting a lot of focus into there. So I'm having a lot of meetings that I'm having to go and run into, especially in the mornings when I come into the office. That's kind of impacting the time I have to be able to film. I'm kind of running around doing a bunch of stuff for Ryland at the moment because he's got some big opportunities coming his way. Like every week there's something. Last week I was with Ryland and Killian rehearsing for their tour with Russ Stevens. The week before Lloyd had something come up. He's in Spain at the moment on holiday. I spoke to him the other day and I said, dude, we need to make a decision. Is the Magic Podcast dead or not? And he's like, no, it's not dead. I'm like, good. I don't think it's dead. Kind of the podcast has become we're going to get an episode up when we can. It's not going to be every week. For 2 years or so, we put one up every single week without fail. Unfortunately, they're very difficult to do. They're very difficult to find time, especially now Lloyd's busier than ever before. But it's not dead. If I had to guess, there's another podcast coming. Episode coming probably in the next week or two when Lloyd gets back from Spain. Okay, so the next question is again from Mandy Putt, who says, are you or Ryland watching the matches on Euro 24? I know Ryland loves football, and I'm curious what you think so far. I'm not a football fan, to be honest, Andy. Never have been. I've been to a lot of matches. My dad took me to a lot of matches when I was a kid, and I've taken Ryland to matches and so on and so forth. And obviously I go and watch every time Ryland plays football, which is quite a lot. But I'm not. Here's the thing: if I'm sitting down in front of the TV and somebody puts a football game on, I will happily watch it. It's not like I'd walk out the room or anything. I've got no problem watching football, but it is never something that I would go, right, okay, I've got to make sure I'm sitting down because I really need to watch the football, regardless of whether it's a Euro Cup or a World Cup. I'm just not that interested. I'm really for me, my time is valuable, and because I work really hard, when I'm not working, I want to do something that I will really enjoy doing, and watching football is not something I enjoy doing unless I'm there watching it with Ryland or, Thea's not really into football either. Unless I'm watching it with Ryland or I'm there supporting Ryland, I'm not really going to sit down and watch football. Now, Ryland, on the other hand, has been watching it, and he said that it's really great. He's got the same mentality of it. It's funny. I'm not a football fan, but around about the same time as every European Cup, Euro Cup and every World Cup, every football fan in the UK, they get really excited. You see the flags flying outside the homes. It's coming home. It's coming home. You get all of that. And then at some point during the competition, it all goes tits up and everybody just gets very, very depressed. So at the moment he's elated, he's ecstatic, he's very, very happy. He's watched them. I haven't. He says that it's been amazing and that I'm an idiot for not watching them. But yeah, I couldn't even tell you what we're doing at the moment. Did we win? I don't care. I just don't care. I don't care. Okay, so the next question is from Leo Cacello, who says, hey, Craig, who are the 4 people in your Coin Magic Mount Rushmore? Oh, dear God. There's so many people that could be on a Mount Rushmore for Coin Magic. God. Okay, I'm going to go for the obvious, first of all. I'm going to go for David Roth. David Roth is going to be up there. Obviously, he's going to be the gold standard. I'm going to put Danny Goldsmith in there as well. He is doing incredible work for Coin Magic, as far as I'm concerned. So you see, it would be easy for me to go Jeff Latter, Michael Rubenstein, David Roth, and Mike Gallo. That would be the easy option. But I think it would be nice if I had somebody come in from various different generations. So definitely David Roth, definitely Danny Goldsmith. I think Danny has got more people into Coin Magic than any other coin magician that I know. He's made Coin Magic cool. So definitely Danny Goldsmith. Because when you're thinking about the Mount Rushmore, you're thinking about everything, right? Not just skill, but presentational ability, reach, just like everything. So I'm going to say Justin Miller. And the reason I'm going to say Justin Miller is a lot of people don't think of him as a coin guy because he releases so much magic. And it is true that he runs the gauntlet and he does everything. You think of David Roth, you think of Danny Goldsmith, you think of them as coin magicians, right? But you don't think of Justin Miller as a coin magician. You think of him as an all-round magician. But his coin work is amazing. He revolutionized sleeving with Silver Dream. His shadow lapping techniques are literally turning coin magic on its head. He's literally added an extra dimension that nobody's thought of. His change where it just drops and just I can think of a million different things that he's done with coins, and he's probably released more coin sets than probably not definitely released more coin sets than any other person alive. He deserves to be on Mount Rushmore, absolutely 100%. So we've got Justin Miller, we've got David Roth, we've got Danny Goldsmith, and I think the final person is Curtis Cam. If you don't know Curtis Cam's material, it's amazing. Go check out the Palms of Steel series. That'll show you exactly what type of person he is. But he's done so much for coin magic. There's a million other people I could put on there. Names keep popping into my head. Kiana Harbottle is somebody that should deserve to be on there. But if you want my opinion right now, I would say Curtis Cam, Justin Miller, Danny Goldsmith, and David Roth. Okay, so the next question is from Arthur Newman, who says, you talk about Stickman Project. Do you know when it's going to come out? I don't know what you mean by a Stickman Project. Did I say I was doing a Stickman Project? I've got a whole bunch of work on routines with Stickmen. And what I'm going to be doing soon is I'm going to be doing a Hows and Whys. If you're new to the channel, every kind of 3 or 4 months I put a Hows and Whys up. I've done Hows and Whys on the Digital Force bag. I've done it on blank cards. I've done it on Quiver. I've done it on WoW, coin boxes. It's kind of a really in-depth video on one particular subject with a bunch of ideas for it. I'm doing a Hows and Whys on Stickmen soon, but that's not like a project that you can buy. That's just something I'm going to put on YouTube free for everybody. I don't know when it's going up, but all the content's written, but I've got to film it. But I'd like to say that it's going to be out definitely sort of before August. But there's a lot of stuff you can do with Stickman, and I can't wait for people to see some of the routines that I've created over the years that I've not really shared yet. Okay, so the next question is from Bryce Elphia, who says, thanks, Craig, for your kind encouragement and advice on stage fright, and performing something simple instead of jumping into the deep end. I really took this to heart and just blew some friends and strangers at a restaurant away the other night. That is amazing, buddy. Absolutely phenomenal. The feeling was incredible, and it's reignited my passion for magic. I cannot thank you enough. You are more than welcome. So I have a question for you. Do you have any recommendations on easy everyday carries that I could look into that doesn't involve cards? Absolutely, man. That doesn't involve cards. So first of all, I'm going to shill my own product here, and I'm going to say ED Seat. ED Seat is a fantastic, I have 5 sets of them, and they're in all of my wallets. I love ED Seat. It's very, very easy, and there's a ton of stuff you can do with it. Doesn't involve cards, and if you don't know what it is, you bring some receipts out. And you do a mind reading thing with the receipts. They think of any item off the receipts, and you tell them what they're thinking of. So ED Seat is great, and Paul Fowler brought out a completely different methodology, but brought out a receipt trick as well, which is very good. And that's called Translocation. I think it's a Saturn magic trick, so go look it up. Very, very different to EDC, very different method, but still very, very good. So look into the reviews and decide which one you want to go for if you like the idea of using a receipt to do a mind reading thing. While we're talking about Paul Fowler, we should also talk about Overdraft, which came out through the 1914, which involves 2 credit cards. It's basically like a copper silver type thing, but with credit cards, which is super fun. Very, very, very cool. You can just put the credit cards in your wallet and you're good to go. If we're talking about credit cards, we really should talk about the credit card that Pete Turner bought out with Illusionist. Can't remember the name of it now, but if you search credit card on Illusionist, it'll come up. And it was basically a little mind reading set on a credit card, and it's got a bunch of stuff built into what looks like a real credit card. I think it might be fraud, but I could be wrong. I don't know. So all of that's good. If you're wanting to wear something that becomes a really cool everyday carry, there's a couple of things that I can recommend there. Black Pearl, which me and Ryland reviewed on last week's review show, is a little bracelet that you can wear. Ryland's wearing this everywhere now, and it's basically an any card at any number with beads on a bracelet, and the reactions you get are great. I've seen Ryan do it many times now. Not my sort of thing, but it's perfect for if you wear bracelets like that. Works really well. Talking about wearable EDCs, you also want to look into Penrose pendants by Jeff Price. Jeff Price's Penrose pendant is really cool because you can literally take this pendant off and you can just you show that it goes up and down the chain, and you can have it stop anytime you want to. It's a very, very cool creation. And as we're talking about Jeff Price, his new random card generator is very, very cool. You can just throw one in your wallet, and it's kind of a card trick, but it doesn't involve a deck of cards, so I think we can kind of shoehorn it in there. And also on the subject of Jeff Price, let's throw Monkey into the equation as well, which is a really cool routine with a key. And you can just hang it on your keychain and you're good to go. As we're talking about keys, let's throw Keymaster and Gatekeeper into the mix, which are by me. Keymaster and Gatekeeper are two of my most iconic products, I think. It's holes moving around and stretching on keys and stuff like that. Really, really cool. So all of that works. As we're talking about keys, let's talk about Scotch and Whiskey by Hansen Chen. That's really cool. I haven't seen it yet, but the new key that's come out through Hansen Chen is meant to be really good as well. But I'm not going to pass judgment on that because I'm yet to see it. So all of that works. I'm going to throw Level Up into the mix. That's a new thing that I bought out through Penguin a couple of months ago. It's magic with some Nintendo Switch cartridges, and there is a ton of stuff you can do with it on the tutorial. All the stuff on the tutorial works really, really well. And I'll throw one more thing into the mix. Gossip, which is the first trick I bought out through Alakazam Magic, which is a page torn out of a magazine that allows you to do a baby gag with a freely chosen celebrity. I still have that as my EDCs all of the time. And I'm also going to say that a couple of years after that, Michael Murray bought out Showreel, which is another version of a page torn out of a magazine. Michael's is very different. You're still thinking of a celebrity, but there's like lots of really cool revelations built into the actual magazine page. So look, I've probably spent too much time on this question, but there's probably going to be something there that's non-card related that I think that you can probably dig. Okay, so the next question is from Bryselfia, who again has a question and says, right, it seems that many online products and courses teach various different sleights and tricks, but few I can find on the art of misdirection. I found one by James Brown, an illusionist, but that's about it. Do you have any misdirection courses on the Netrix, or do you know anywhere else that I can look into? Yeah, okay, so so I am doing a video for the Netrix and also for Magic TV on misdirection. That's going to be coming in the next month or two. The two places, I'm going to Google something in a minute. So the first two sources that I would suggest to look at if you want to learn more about misdirection. The first is read the Books of Wonder by Tommy Wonder. Now, or watch the DVD set. You know, Tommy spends a lot of time talking about the principles of misdirection, and studying his work is an absolute must if you want to understand more about misdirective magic. Now, the other person, I'm trying to find something by Manuel Morte. I don't know if you know Manuel Morte. He is, for me, the master of misdirection. Absolute master of misdirection. If you get the book Flicking Fingers, don't forget to point. He's got a bunch of stuff in there on misdirection. But he brought out a DVD a long time ago, and I think it was like The Principles in Misdirection. I can't find that, but what I can find on Penguin Magic, which I don't think I've seen, but maybe I have, Done by Misdirection. No, that's the one. Done by Misdirection by Manuel Morte. It's a DVD, so you're going to have to fire up your DVD machine. Manuel Morte, master of misdirection, member of the Flicking Fingers, demonstrates his tried and tested tricks in front of a live audience. So you're going to, in 2 hours of viewing time, you're going to learn 21 original stage and close-up routines. You're also going to accompany Manuel Morte for a day in Berlin, learning the fundamentals of misdirection. And you're also going to see a performance of his award-winning FISM act. And, the reviews are great on Penguin. A must-have for your library. Manuel Morte, personally, I think that he is the grand teacher of misdirection, the father of misdirection. But, the DVD came out like 15 years ago or something, so it's the same with a lot of magic. A lot of people don't know about it and aren't aware of it. But if you're serious about getting into... It's in stock at Penguin. If you're serious about getting into misdirection, look that up. So it's Done by Misdirection by Manuel Morte. And you can get it as a DVD from Penguin Magic and all good magic dealers. Okay, so the next question is from Dylan Williams Magic, who says, "Hi Craig, if you'd only perform 5 magic tricks for the rest of your life, what would they be and why?" I'm going to assume that we're talking close-up magic here. I'm going to assume that we're talking close-up magic. So what I'm going to need is an eclectic. If I still want to go out and gig, which is kind of my concern, and I can only do 5 tricks for the rest of my life, I'm going to need to make them as eclectic as I possibly can to really give people variety. Okay, so I'm going to start off with my monster coin routine, which is on the Netrix, and it's also, I published this on Parler years ago through World Magic Shop. It's on the Netrix. And I think it's on the Alakazam Coin Magic Academy, volume 1 or 2. Because that's like a 4-phase routine, runs about 7 or 8 minutes. You can break the phases down into individual routines and acts, and that will give me a really great coin act that I can then lean on and I can chop up into various different segments. The second thing I'm going to say is my card under box routine, which I put on the Penguin Live that I did, and that's my favorite card routine. But also, it's a nice long routine. It's 6 or 7 minutes long, and again, I can chop that up if I want to. So that'll give me my card routine. Fiber Optics by Richard Sanders, because that's like the best rope routine ever made. I can perform it on stage, I can perform it parlor, I can perform it close up. That's a really great, that's awesome. That Fiber Optics is great. And also I can use the same moves from Fiber Optics to do hyper ring style routine. So that's good as well. I would say my main routine from Cube 52, because that's going to give me some really different type cube magic. So, that's the one where I start off, I do a solve, I then do it matches the front of the box, I then get them to shuffle the card, shuffle the cube, it matches, I then solve the cube, the bag with the clear cube at the end. That whole thing would be the 4th routine that I would do. And then the 5th routine I'll do, I'm probably cheating here, but I don't care, I'd put a Voke in. Because if I'm only going to have 1 trick left and I want to throw some mentalism into the mix, I can put a Voke in and I could do like literally a 40-minute set if I wanted to, just with those cards. So there's so many different options with the Voke. It would give me, a mentalism act that I could do so many different things with. So you got card in the box, you got my monster coin routine, you've got Fiber Optics by Richard Sanders, you've got the main routine of Cube 52, and finally you've got a Voke. That are the 5 tricks that I would do if I can only do 5 for the rest of my life, because I think with those 5 tricks, it would allow me to go to a gig and make it feel different on every table. I'd still be able to perform. Okay, so the next question is from Dylan Williams Magic again, who says, what advice would I give to someone that wants to get more gigs, yet they live in a rural, low-income area and magic is not really a popular thing? I would start off by making it popular, which would involve, I think if it's a low-income area and you've not got much gigs, a lot of people say you shouldn't perform for exposure, and that's absolutely fine. You shouldn't perform for free. My attitude is, if I live in an area where not many people like magic and it's kind of a low-income area, I'd start off by hitting the bars, hitting the restaurants, hitting the places people go to, and I would just go and perform for free to as many people as I can. I'd do what Dynamo did when he was trying to get famous in the first place, and he would crash celebrity parties and he would just go in there and start performing, and then people were like, oh my God, I'm going to need you at my party. I would just go in there and I'd kick down doors. It's like my friend Jester Sarles says, be so good that they can't ignore you. I would be going out there every single day. I wouldn't be waiting for the gigs to come to me. I wouldn't be waiting for the inquiries to come for me. I would be going out and I would be making it happen. There's 2 types of people in this life. People who watch things happen and people who make things happen. I am not going to sit down and just wait for gigs to come in, and they aren't coming in, and they're coming in at a low fee. I would go out and I would be performing to everybody. I'd be finding out, even in a low-income area, there's going to be places where high rollers go out and hang out. I'd be going over there. I'd be contacting the management. I'd say, hey, let me come in and perform for you for free. I'm really awesome. I would be getting a reputation in that area as the magic guy, and I would be going out and I would be building up that reputation. And I think if I did that for maybe 6 months to 12 months, I would be generating gigs, I'd be generating inquiries, because I would be out there making it cool to those section of people. And when they need a magician, they come to me. I'd also be looking for opportunities outside of that local area. I'd be looking for, I'd put a kick-ass act together, and I'd be contacting like a talent competition, a TV talent competition, and I'd be thinking about what I could do to get there. Anything that I can do to get my name out there and to get a high profile, because if I can build a big brand, it doesn't matter what the income in the area is. It doesn't matter how much people do or don't like magic. If I can build a brand, then I can take that brand absolutely anywhere, and it transcends stuff like that, right? So I'll be using every opportunity I can to build my brand. I'd be learning press releases, and I'd be sending press releases out. I'd be doing stunts. I'd be going old school and doing like blindfold car drives and bullet catches and stuff like that. Just crazy stuff that the press want to cover. I'd be doing everything in my power to get as many people as possible to talk about me. And I would spend 6, 12 months, 18 months building up that brand. And I think by the time I'd done that, I'd have people kicking my door in, offering me gigs, and probably out of area as well. So that's what I would do if I was in that sort of situation. Okay, so the next question is from Divishan Magician. Hey Divishan, I hope you're well. What we got here? So I do a show that's designed for teens and older kids, and in that I do the multiplying bottles. But yesterday saw that Justin Flom has done a video completely exposing every single bit of the routine, from the bottles being stacked to the lifting of the tube to the placement of the two glasses. This video has got 34 million views on just TikTok, meaning that there's a very high chance that my audience for this show will have seen this video, meaning they'll know how it's done. So based on this, for a specific show, do you think I should remove this trick, or am I overthinking it? You're overthinking it. You are genuinely overthinking it. Is there a chance that somebody possibly in your audience remembers that Justin Flom video? Absolutely. But the thing about TikTok is it's short form content generally. So, when people go on TikTok, they go on the For You page and they're just scrolling mindlessly. They're just scrolling, and they're seeing a video. They'll stop for a few seconds. They're scrolling. They'll stop for a few seconds. They're scrolling. Even if they watch that video of Justin Flom exposing that trick, they won't remember that a few minutes later. They really won't. Genuinely, they won't. Here's a question. 3 days ago, the last time you went on TikTok, like yesterday or the day before, can you tell me every single video that you saw on TikTok if you scrolled through the For You page? You probably can't, right? You can remember all the magic videos that you saw because you're into magic, Divishan. That's what you love. You love magic. So you see somebody performing magic, you're going to stop and you're going to look at it. You might be supporting your friends and watching some of their videos, and that's all well and good. But your average person who's not into magic, they might stop to look at that out of curiosity. They're not going to remember it. They probably spent about, half an hour scrolling through videos on TikTok, and that's just one of many videos that they've seen. But I ask you again, when was the last time you scrolled through the For You page on TikTok? And can you remember every single video that you saw? Because the answer is no. And if you leave it a couple of days, you're not going to remember anything. So people aren't going to remember seeing that multiplying bottles video anyway. But even if they did, even if you were doing a show, and before the show, on a massive screen, Justin Flom came on and exposed the multiplying bottles, you could still, I remember going out and having the same conversation with somebody. The thumb tip was exposed on TV, like a full exposure video. This is way back, like in the 90s. I can't remember who did it, but the thumb tip was basically exposed on national TV. And everybody was like, oh my God, what's going to happen? We can't do the thumb tip anymore. I just went out and did the thumb tip the next day, and nobody said anything. Like, honestly, you're worrying about something that doesn't need to be worried about. Focus on more important things. If you like multiplying bottles and you do it in your act, keep it in. It's a great trick. You don't need to take it out because some muppet has exposed it on TV to get a few extra quid in his pocket. Okay, so next one is Spooky Kid, who says, I have a routine where I must force a dime out of 4 coins. A penny, a nickel, a dime, and a quarter. Equivoke works, but I think terribly, at least the way I do it. Can you help me with another method or a better wording? For instance, if I ask them to pick a coin and they pick the dime, I am set and I remove the other 3. But if they pick any other coin and next pick the dime, removing the others and keeping the dime seems odd. Pick a coin, I remove it. Pick a coin, I keep it. Sometimes I get a strange look, but no one's called me out on it. If you, I still want to look more fair and consistent. I am a hobbyist, so I'm limited on this knowledge. Thanks for everything you do. Right, okay, so what have I got here? 4 things. So we've got a pen lid. We've got a, put that over there. We've got a pen lid. We've got a thingy case. It's got to be something else. Everyday carry. My favourite everyday carry. I love this. This is from Synergy by David Jonathan. Right, so let's say you want to force... I've got a shell on that coin. Don't need that. Let's say you want to force the coin, right? So you're saying here, if you say name a coin and they say the coin, you're set. But if they name the AirPods and you go, right, we'll remove the AirPods, name another thing, it looks weird. And it does. So this is how you should do it. You're going to say, I've got 4 objects. With your left finger, with your left hand, put your finger down on one of the objects. If they put it on the coin, you're set. Perfect. You sure you want the coin? Great. Let's go. If they put it on something else, you say now with your right finger, put your finger down on one of the objects. Now, if you put it down on the coin, you go, brilliant. So those are the 2 objects you've chosen. We'll get rid of those. That makes sense because you're having them pick one object and then the other object. Okay, so again, put your finger down on, put your right finger down on one object. Put your left finger down on one object. Brilliant. So we've got the coin and we've got the card. We'll remove those, right? Now, if they put their fingers down on 2 objects that aren't the coin, you just get rid of them. So you go, right, okay, what I want you to do is put your left finger down on one object, put your right finger down on one object. Are you sure? Great. Pick those up and put them to one side. That leaves us with 2. Okay? So it doesn't feel odd if you do it that way. You're being ambiguous. You're not telling them what to do. You go, we've got 4 objects here. What I want you to do is, with your left finger, put your left finger down on one object. With your right finger, put your right finger down on one object. Are you sure? Brilliant. Pick those up and put them to one side. Now, there's one more choice left to make, right? And if you do it this way, put your left finger down on one object, put your right finger down on one object, put your right finger down on one object. Are those the 2 that you want? Yeah, okay. You want those? Brilliant. Either way, we're into this situation here, right? And then you say, right, there's one last choice that you need to make. What I'd like you to do is pick up one of those objects, and if they pick up the pen, if they pick up the one that's not the force item, you say, pick up one of those objects. You go, are you sure? And they go, yeah. And you go, fantastic. What does that leave you with? And you just take it off them and you put it away with those over there. And you say, what does that leave you with? The coin. But if they pick up the coin, you say, are you sure? And they go, yeah. And you go, brilliant. So you ended up with the coin. That was a free choice. Does that make sense? So, there we go. Here we go. So, again, put your right finger down on one object. If you've got the coin, you're sorted. Put your right finger down on one object. Put your left finger down on one object. Oh, okay, you want those 2. Yeah, great. We'll get rid of these. That leaves us with these 2. Can you pick one up for me? Great. Are you sure you want that one? Yeah, great. Okay, good job. Do you see the difference? So, that's one way of doing it. Now, if you want another way of forcing that coin, and you can throw an extra coin into the mix... Let's put my keys here for me. Yes, I have a princess on my keys. Deal with it. Dad's keys. There you go. If found, please return to mum. I would suggest, if you can have 5 objects, my favourite verbal force is Quinta, which is from the Codex by Phil Smith. So Phil Smith's Quinta force is absolutely amazing. I saw an email off him recently that the amazing Stephen from up in Manchester created something very similar as well years before, which is great. I think of this as Quinta by Phil Smith, and it's my favourite verbal force. And it looks like this. I've got 5 objects in front of me. We've got some keys, we've got coin. I want to force the coin, don't I? Okay. So I've got 5 objects in front of me. I've got keys, I've got this card here, I've got some AirPods, I've got a coin, and I've got a pen cap. What you're going to do is I want to name a number. You can name any number you want to. It's completely up to you. And when you name that number, I'm going to count back and forth, and we'll end up on the on the object that you want. What number would you like? And let's say they say 18, and you go 18. Okay, cool. You're happy with 18? And they go, yeah. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So you want the coin. Okay, no problem. And that's what Quinter is. It'll allow you to count and end up on the force item every single time. So that's published in the Codex. I also talked about it on the Infinity Deck project. So on the Infinity Deck project, I teach the Quinter force for a couple of different routines on Infinity. And also, if you check out Phil's site, he's got some really cool pamphlets that really go deep into various different stuff that you can use Quinter for. So you've got the Quinter force, and you've got, hopefully, that helps with what you need to do with Equivoke or Equivocate, whichever one you'll call it. But if you've got any questions, let me know. Okay, so the next question is from Mystery Man, who says, have you seen Chill 2.0 by Tom Wright? What are your thoughts? I saw the original Chill and thought it was brilliant. An incredible method to do the haunted deck. I mean, the fact that you can do a haunted deck basically with a regular deck is awesome. Chill 2, I haven't seen. I mean, Chill 1 was awesome, was brilliant. So I can only imagine that if it's an improvement, and Tom Wright doesn't release stuff very often, so if it's something that he's decided to release, it's definitely going to be an improvement. That I think it's going to be even better. I'll probably get around to reviewing it at some point. But yeah, I can definitely recommend Chill. Haven't seen Chill 2, but I'm sure it'll be great. Okay, so the next question is from Mystery Man, who says, I've always been looking for a practical ending for a routine using my own fingering, not the spectators. I've never seen anyone use the 8-ball from Ring Effect on the Ringmaster DVD. I really like that. God, there's a blast from the past, right? It's a great trick, that is. My God, I haven't thought of Ringleader in probably coming up on 2 decades. Wow. Anyway, Ringmaster, sorry. But would you use that? And do you have your own favourite ending finale for a routine using your own ring? So yes, I would absolutely use that. And I did for years. I'd forgotten about it. I should redo that because that was brilliant. But yeah, so there's a couple of ways that I like to end a ring routine when I'm using my own ring. And the first is I like to use my version, which I've never published and I probably will at some point on the Netrix, but my version of Di Vernon's Ring on Wand. So I do a version of Ring on Wand, and it uses a duplicate ring, which is why I use my own ring. And I love that routine, I really do. And the final moment, the spectator's holding on to the ends of the wand like that, and I've got the ring, and I just do this, and I throw it on the wand that they're holding on to in between their hands. And it's a beautiful moment, and it's a great finale to a routine, because the end look of the whole thing looks great. They're holding on to the wand, the ring is right there on the wand, everything is examinable in their hands immediately, and it just looks killer. It's a great way to frame the finale of a routine. I can then just take that back and put it on my finger. But if you want another ending, which I've done many times before, if you go to Mechanical Industries, Mechanic Industries, they're the ones that bring out the cool decks of cards. They have a really cool ring set. They sell really cool rings. They call them the Collusion Ring, and they have a Collusion ring set. And with the Collusion ring set, you get a coin and a ring that matches the coin. So you can do a load of funky turning a coin into a ring and back into a coin moves. You also get a chain, because you can do a really cool ring on string routine, but with a chain instead of the ring. And you also get a gimmick that they call Morph. And go and have a look at the video and you'll see it. But basically, it's a coin that's kind of fused into a ring. And it looks very cool. It's like this ring and this coin, and they're fused together. And that's how a lot of the time I will close with this in a walk around situation. So you do the ring, you do whatever you want to do with the ring. They teach you a bunch of really cool moves on there. And you can produce a coin from out of the ring and all this fun stuff. And I do a transposition with the coin in the ring. And then for the finale, I take the coin here and I take the ring here and I just do this, and they hold on to it, and they do this, and it fuses together and they end up holding on to it. And that's an amazing finale. These two objects fuse together. And what I do at the end of that, and I don't even make a big deal of it, I don't like make this a magical moment, but as I take this impossible object back that they've examined, I just shake it and they separate, and I put the ring back on my thumb. I wear it on my thumb, and I put the coin back in my pocket, and I'm reset. But I don't make a big deal of it. It's like the magic's happened after the routine, and I'm not even aware that they're watching. I'm just magically separating these objects. So the collusion ring set is great. I know they put it through Murphy's, so you might be able to get it from magic dealers, but their website is mechanicalindustries.com. Click on Ring Magic, and they've got it there, and it's on sale at the moment on their website. Okay, so the next question again is a mystery man who says, what's your favourite tricks using Tic Tacs? Well, my favourite trick of all time is by Justin Miller, and he published I learnt this off one of his At the Tables. So Justin Miller did a couple of At the Tables with Murphy's Magic when they were doing those, and he taught this on the At the Table. And basically it's a Tic Tac container, and there's one Tic Tac in there, and with no thread, and I swore down that this was thread when I first saw it, with no moves or no nothing. You just literally just concentrate, and this Tic Tac just jumps in this Tic Tac holder, the box, and you can hand it out, and everything's examinable. And Justin's got a bunch of different ways of using that, including a card location and a bunch of different stuff. And I do a Tic Tac act. I do a Tic Tac act. So I bring out a thing with 4 or 5 Tic Tacs in. I tip them all out and I leave one in there. And I do, I first saw John Tremaine do it with foil, but you can do it with so many different things. But I use Tic Tacs. So I put the first Tic Tac in my eye, I put the second one in my ear, I put the third one in my nose, and then they come back out, and I kind of regurgitate them. Then I take the Tic Tac and I do this whole routine based on Justin's stuff, where it's jumping around all over the place, and I finish off with Hanson Chen's Jumbo Tic Tac, which is like a great finale to a Tic Tac routine. So those are all of my favourite Tic Tac routines. Those are the sources where you can learn them. Cameron Francis has had the best. It's not really a Tic Tac trick, it uses a Tic Tac box, but Cameron Francis had one of the best routines using a Tic Tac box and a pack of cards. I think he called it Fresh Mint. That was really good as well. So I'm trying to think of any others. Those are really the ones that I really like, although there are tons of other Tic Tac routines I've done over the years. I might have to do like a tricks with Tic Tacs that you've never seen before. I think that'd probably be a cool thing to do, but that'd be a good place to get you started. Devisham Magician asks, do you do Quartet by Guy Hollingsworth? And the answer is no. I did it many years ago, like we're talking many years ago, but I haven't done it for a long time, so no, I don't do it. I remember it being a really good routine, but I couldn't even remember how to do it now. But no, I don't do Quartet. Do you? Okay, so the next question is from Adrian Suter, who says, imagine the following situation. You have several gigs with different performance situations on the same weekend. You know little about the venues and cannot get more information. Space is limited. You cannot take huge props with you. What would you take that works in many different environments? Great question. I'm assuming it's all on stage. Several gigs with different performing situations. Oh, it might not be different performing situations, same weekend. So you can't get more information. Space is limited. So it might be close up, it might be stage. You don't know who the audience is. It could be adults, it could be kids. You need something that works across everybody and transcends everyone. Right, okay. And I can't take huge props. Okay, so I would take a Rubik's Cube and Cube 52, because with Rubik's Cube and Cube 52, I can do a bunch of different stuff for a close-up environment. I can literally do a half an hour sort of close-up act with just a cube and the Cube 52 deck, but also using Cube 52, I could do like a 10-minute routine on stage involving Michael Murray's The Solution, the behind the back solve. I could do, solves. I could do matchups. I've got a routine that would run for about 10 minutes on stage, and it would take up literally no space. So I'd say probably I'd take a cube and I'd take Cube 52. I mentioned this before on the Q&A, I definitely take fibre optics, and I take a ring for fibre optics as well, because with fibre optics and with a ring for fibre optics, I can do Professor's Nightmare, I can do the full fibre optics routine, I can do hyper ring, which means that I can also do ring on rope, like a Daryl's version of ring on rope. I can do all of that. I can also do well, fibre optics works on stage, and it works for kids, it works for adults, it works for everybody, but it's also a great trick to do close-up. So definitely I'd take a fibre optics set, and I'd take a ring as well, because that's going to give me like 15-20 minutes worth of material that will work in any environment. I'd probably take some slush powder as well. Now, this is not something I can do close-up, but if I was performing in any sort of situation, whether it's a formal close-up show, a parlour show, a cabaret show, a full stage show, I've got 2 or 3 different routines that I can do with slush powder. I've got a couple of different things that I could do really, really well. So that would definitely be something that I could do there. I'm trying to think. Yeah, that would work. Yeah, definitely take some slush powder. You know, the Red Cup of Mystery thing, the Gary Dunn, 3 Water Monty, all of that sort of stuff would work in a family audience, 100%. Not really something I could do with close-up, but would be good. I'd take a deck of cards with me for sure, because obviously with a deck of cards, I could just do close-up all night. There's so much card material, but there's certain routines that I know would work really well on stage that I could perform to the biggest audience. So I could do cards across with just a regular deck. That wouldn't be a problem at all. I could do like a multiple selection to 10 people in the audience. That'd be great in a parlour show or a small cabaret show. I could do a smaller version of multiple selection where I've got the tattoo prediction on my arm as well. So that would work really well. In a parlour show, in a small cabaret show, I could do card under box, and that would work great. I could do a version of my Destination Mistake from the Netrix, which is a really, really popular trick. I couldn't use the destination box, but I would probably be able to come up with some sort of ending that would tie in really well. And having a deck of cards and a Sharpie marker would allow me to go in so many different directions, walk around and close up. And having a Sharpie marker means that I could do a bunch of pen manipulation as well. So I could do my pen manipulation act, which works really well on stage, but also works really well close up. If I'm going to take a pen, I may as well take some coins. So I'll probably take 4 coins in a shell. That's going to give me the biggest amount of options. If I've got 4 coins in a shell, I can pretty much do anything. I could probably do about an hour's worth of coin material with 4 coins in a shell. So I've got that with me there, and I combine the pen as well. I could do my security pen routine from the Netrix. I could do a bunch of different stuff just by combining those props. Then I'd probably also take sponge balls. And the reason I'd take sponge balls is because that's going to work for every environment as well. I can do sponge balls on stage. If I find myself in a kids show, I can kiddify the sponge ball routine and do my signature sponge ball routine for kids. If I'm performing walk around, I can definitely do sponge balls. If I'm performing on stage, I can just use 2 balls, and I can do like a Wayne Dobson style routine with 2 adults on stage. It's going to give me a lot of different options taking sponge balls. And none of any of that stuff is going to take up much pocket space. Which is going to be really good as well. And I think the final thing that I would take, or 2 final things that I would probably take Evoke, because Evoke would allow me to do some really cool mentalism routines, which would play quite well on stage, but would also allow me to do a ton of stuff in a walk around situation. Wouldn't be too good if there were kids there, but it would definitely work if people are wanting me to do mentalism. And to go with that, I'd also take some billets, and I'd probably take the TCC marked billets, because if I take the TCC marked billets, I'm going to be able to do ESP style matchup routines. I'm also going to be able to do sort of predictions. I'm also going to be able to do my favorite routine, which is Magician's Graphology by Andy Nyman. I'm going to be able to do Magician's Graphology, which would work to 1,000 people, but also work in a walk around or a close-up situation. So that wouldn't take up much pocket space at all, but I think taking that stuff would set me up for any environment. Oh, you know what? I take a set of ninja rings as well, because ninja rings is great because I can do it walk around, I can do it big tables, I can do it close up, I can do it on stage. People could see it from a distance. I could, even though I'm using smaller rings, I could still do sort of a stage version and have a kid on stage with me and do kind of like a Pop Hayden style linking rings routine. So that's the final moment. That small set of ninja rings, back pocket, leave them in there. That'll give me a lot of options. Okay, so the next question is the Creepypasta Poet, who says, "Hi Craig, what's the best thing to use for dry hands? Also, what do you think of the idea of using hopping halves as a rom-com? They get split up, but fate keeps bringing them back together. I haven't worked on the wording, but maybe end it up with, they eloped, thanks." All right, so first of all, dry hands. O'Keeffe's hand cream is the best thing to use for dry hands. It will revolutionize your magic. Just search for O'Keeffe's. You can get them on Amazon. You can get them from different magic shops. O'Keeffe's is the hand cream that you want to go for that. In terms of the idea of using hopping halves as a rom-com, I really like that. That would work really well. That would work really, really, really well. What I would probably do is I would probably have them in a quiver. So I'd have the hopping halves in a quiver, and I'd have 2 matching regular coins in the other side of the quiver. So I'd bring out the quiver, and I'd say, hey, I'm going to tell you, who likes rom-coms? I love a good rom-com. But let me tell you, every time you see a rom-com, it's always the same thing. They always end up together. I've never seen a rom-com where they end up splitting up at the end. I'm sure there's one out there, but I've never seen one. And they always follow the same pattern on the lead up to the finale of the film. And they always end up together, living happily ever after. So inside this purse, I've got 2 coins, and there's nothing else in the purse, but the purse represents the end of the film. Right, so this purse represents the end of the film, and with the 2 coins being in there, that means that they've moved in together, they're living their perfect life, they're living their best life, right? But the question is, how do they get there, right? Because you can't just have them go, hey, I love you, let's move in, and then just go. That's not a film, right? So there has to be a moment where they meet for the first time, and normally in a rom-com, they don't get on, right? So what will happen? After that first scene, one of them will go away disgusted, but some sort of fate will bring them together, and they'll end up together in another scene from the film. And they still won't like each other, but you can start to see that there's that chemistry there, but something will happen, and they'll end up with one of them leaving, and then something else will happen and they'll end up together. We've all seen films like this, right? And then they go through that period of time where they're in love and they're together and everything's wonderful and everything's fantastic. But then there's always that moment in the film, isn't there, where something happens completely out of their hand, or one of them's made a mistake, because you've got to learn something as a character in these films, don't you? You've got to learn, you've got to grow. So they learn, something happens, and they regret that happening, and the other one leaves and they never want to see each other again, and this is towards the end of the film, and you have that moment where they realize that they're destined to be together. And what happens? There's that moment where they're running through the airport to catch them before they get the flight, or they're doing some grand gesture, and eventually they end up back together. Now, there's never a moment where they go their separate ways again, because once you've had that big moment, they're all together. Well, actually, I'm lying. I am lying. There's never a moment where they split up again, but if they're going to live their perfect life, they wouldn't be here. If they wanted to live their perfect life, we talked about what would happen. They would be here. And if they really are living their perfect life, that's where they are. And then that way the coins are examinable at the end as well. And you've got rid of the evidence in your pocket. So I would throw a quiver in there. I think that the quiver would give you a good reason it would give it a nice finale, because you could say they've eloped, but I don't think the vanish at the end would fit into the presentation. But if you had them go back into the purse where they began, I think that would be a great way to make it go full circle. Hey, the best way to do it is to try it and see how it goes, right? So let me know down below how it goes for you. Okay, so the next question is from My Pet Creeper, who says, one witch hand routine I use regularly is Mark Elsden's Tequila Hustler. I forgot about that one. That's a good one. Really simple to be done and can be done over the phone, which I've done. It's got me a few gigs. Mark Elsden is a genius. I do have a question. I have got Apparition and Nightshade, and I'm getting into coins, but I have issues with my hands, which makes classic palming painful and never looks natural, regardless of practice. Any advice and alternatives? I use finger palm, but that's not always a suitable alternative. Thanks. Look, if you don't like classic palm, there's no point trying to hammer a square peg into a round hole. The beautiful thing about coin magic is you can be a great coin magician and never use classic palm. Look into thumb palm, because thumb palm, I know it freezes the thumb in place, But thumb palm is quite easy to do. It's not going to be painful for you, and it's going to give you freedom that finger palm can't do. With thumb palm and finger palm, you can pretty much do anything. A lot of my projects, there's very little times that I use classic palm. It can happen, and I try to give you an alternative where I go, well, you know what, this uses a classic palm, but if you're not going to be able to do a classic palm, then you can do this instead. But honestly, you can be one of the best coin magicians in the world and never classic palm a coin. Really focus on the different aspects of finger palm: high finger palm, low finger palm, where you position the coin, what you can get away with. Look into clips, moving the coin from finger palm to finger clip. I'm not talking about back clip, I'm just talking about clipping it in your hand. Move it from finger palm to thumb palm, and between all of those different grips, you're going to find that it's going to open up so many extra doors for you as a coin magician, versus just trying to constantly get classic palm. If you don't like it, if it doesn't work for you, if it hurts, look into alternative options. The best thing about magic in general, but also coin magic, is there are so many different options that are open for us. Okay, so the next question is from Mystery Man again, who says, what's your favourite tricks you saw Chris Angel do on TV? I didn't watch all of Chris's TV show, to be honest. It wasn't really over here in the UK. It wasn't as big a thing over here in the UK as it was in America. And I caught a ton of it on YouTube, but I didn't see a lot of it. The two that really kind of come to mind when I think about Chris Angel is that thing he did fairly early on in his career where he set himself on fire and he just walked towards the camera on fire. I am the mind freak. Like, that was, I think, the thing that really solidified him as something very special and very different. And then there was the thing he did over the Grand Canyon with a helicopter doing escape, was it, from a helicopter? That was quite a cool moment. But the other thing that I think of is when he did the coin in Cannes, Sinful by Wayne Houchin, and that's probably because I use Sinful all the time. But I remember the first time, before it was released as a product, before I realised it was Wayne Houchin's, I remember seeing a video of him doing that and just being completely blown away and wanting to learn that. And I remember thinking I would do anything to be able to put that into my act. So probably Sinful is one of the big ones as well. Those are the ones that spring to mind. When he set himself on fire, the Grand Canyon thing, and Sinful. Okay, so the next question is from Mystery Man, who says, who do you feel Cody Rhodes could lose the world title to in WWE? Honestly, I'm not too sure. There's so many different ways. I think he's done a great job as champion. I think the stuff that he did with AJ was brilliant. I think he's done a great, just an awesome job. In terms of who he could lose it to, I wouldn't be surprised if he kept it for a long time. I also wouldn't be surprised if he lost it at WrestleMania next year to The Rock, because I think that's going to be a high ticket match, and I think having The Rock as champion would be kind of a big thing to draw people in, and you'd never know when he's going to turn up. And hey, Roman was champion and didn't turn up every single week, right? So we don't expect The Rock to turn up every week. And I think the promos between Cody and Rock, especially with Cody being a fighting champion and The Rock obviously would be interesting. But I also, outside bet, I think with Drew McIntyre quitting Raw, and I think one of the options that they have in front of him is moving him to SmackDown. With a whole, I want to get away from Cody Rhodes, I want to get away from CM Punk, so he's moving to SmackDown, and I think he could build up a really great thing from there, and then CM Punk at some point could come over and feud with Drew McIntyre and get himself transferred to SmackDown or something, especially with the Wyatt Six being introduced to Raw. You know, that's 6 new characters that have been introduced to Raw. I think it's going to be a bit crowded, so I think moving CM Punk and Drew away would be a smart thing to do. And that would leave him on the brand with Cody. And I could see Drew taking the title. I really could. He's doing the best work of his career at the moment. So yeah, I don't know is the answer, is the short answer. I don't know, and that's why I love wrestling. You know, we can fantasy book as much as we want to, but, you know, I don't know. Triple H is the guy that knows, and I'm sure he's not telling anyone. But I could see Drew doing it, and I could also see The Rock doing it. Okay, so the next question again from Mystery Man is, my question is about flash paper and your opinion on the when, where, and whys on not using it. Now, on whys on not using it, right? I'm doing a video, I'm doing a hows and whys of flash paper, so you want to look out for that. What I will say is I remember Michael J. Fitch saying to me once that flash paper makes every trick better. And in a way it does. It really makes every trick better. One of my favorite coin tricks to do is Flash Coins Relit by Chad Long. It's an amazing coin trick. And I know my friend Nemid Phoenix, who is, I keep saying it, one of the best magicians in the world. He opens every single table set by producing a coin with a face of flash paper. And it grabs people's attention and then some. There's some great stuff that you can do with flash paper. There's some interesting stuff you can do with flash paper. And I don't want to kind of blow my load by talking about it all now. But yeah, in terms of when, I think that any close-up situation that you can use flash paper, do it. We're magicians. We're meant to be able to do stuff by magic. So where, anywhere, whys, it looks cool. If you're a magician and you were going to make a coin appear, why would you just make a coin appear when you can make a coin appear in a flash of fire, right? But in terms of effects with the flash paper, keep watching because there's a hows and whys coming soon. Jack59 says, stage fright and getting experience. I've been using Bewave as a near self-working trick to gain some confidence. That's a great idea, man. Bewave is a fantastic way to be able to perform a piece of mentalism and have it not go wrong. The only problem with Bewave is it's not examinable. So anybody who's really anxious about performing, and a lot of the time, the root of anxiety is about if people catch what you're doing, having a trick that's not examinable at the end, although not an issue, and Bewave never has an issue for me, it can cause anxiety for some people. Which is why I suggested something with a regular deck, because that ain't going to be, if they examine it, there's not going to be a problem, right? But I do agree with you, Bewave is a great trick and it's a perfect trick to build confidence. But if somebody's anxious about examinability, which I know happens with people, it's maybe not the best trick to do. The next question is from guest 3997, who is actually David Goldman, who's amazing. I've met David at Blackpool. I've met him at Magic Live, along with his wonderful wife, Rhonda, and they are lovely people. They are lovely people. And he says, thanks so much for all you do. Rhonda and I look forward to seeing you at Magic Live. May we treat you to a coffee. I would love a coffee with you. We should sit down and have a chat. And I hope Rhonda's better, because I know at Blackpool she couldn't make it. She wasn't feeling 100%. So I hope, Rhonda, if you're watching this, I really hope you're better. And I look forward to seeing you at Magic Live. Okay, so the next question is from Fixer, who says, hi, Craig, can you recommend any tricks with an Ungimmicked tarot deck? And I immediately I can think of about 5 or 6. However, I'm not going to tell you them because I think you've just given me a fantastic video that I can do for Magic TV. Hows and whys of a tarot deck. Routines that you can do with a tarot deck. There's certain card tricks that I think would work really well with a tarot deck. And I love that idea. I don't know why I've never thought about it before. So thank you for the idea. I think it's amazing. Yes, I've got some ideas, and I'm going to put them into... I haven't got time to go through them all in this video, so I'm going to do a longer video and talk about all those ideas in that. So hopefully that's okay, but really great idea. Okay, so next question is from Yuri, who says, hi, Craig. Yet again, thank you so much for that amazing video last week. You truly rock. Thank you, man. So first of all, to the guy last week asking for amazing rubber band closer, I recently got Hard Stretch from Roman Armstrong and fell completely in love with it. It's definitely going into the repertoire. Plus, seeing you in that project made it even better. Yuri, I completely forgot about Hard Stretch. How bad am I? Yeah, Hard Stretch is amazing. It is a great finale to any rubber band effect. So, Roman, if you're watching this, I apologize. I can't believe I forgot about Hard Stretch. So, questions. So the first question is, I was wondering how the production of your new book is doing. Can't wait to get my hands on it when it's done. I believe it's gone to print. I don't know when the book is coming out. I do know that it's coming out with Penguin Magic. And I do know that I'm going to be on the Magic Live Penguin booth. If I ran Penguin Magic and I had me on the Penguin Live booth and I had a book that was ready to go, I'd probably release it at Magic Live. But I don't run Penguin Magic, so I don't know. But all I know is it's coming soon. So if it is at Magic Live, that'll be exciting. Come on over and see it, guys. And I'm really proud of it. But I don't know is the answer. So hopefully Magic Live. But at some point soon, I know it's been finished and it's in printing. Okay, so the next question again is from Yuri, who says, what do you consider to be your top 5 favorite card revelations? My gosh, that's a good question. The first one is the one where you hold the deck like this and you take someone's hair and you wrap the hair around the deck and you pull up and the card just rises out the deck. That's a really good, and then you and it's not their card and you rub it and it turns into their card. That's the first one. The second one is one that I learned off an old RSVP DVD from many, many years ago, and it's amazing. And the name of the person who's done it is one of my favorite magicians, and for the life of me, I'm struggling to remember their name, and I feel really bad about that. But it's the one where you get them to take an invisible card. You get them to take a card, you make it invisible, they fold the card up, and the card ends up underneath. They put the folded up card back in the deck, and then the card rises up out the deck. That's a really cool one. Really, really cool one. The invisible card becomes visible and rises out the deck. Yes, that's what I mean. On the subject of rising cards, I also like an ungimmicked rising card. So I think that makes a great revelation where you have them pick a card, they pick a card, they lose it in the pack, and you have the card rise out the middle of the deck. I use the uprising technique by Richard Sanders, but without a handkerchief. So that's that one. A sandwich routine, a simple sandwich revelation, but my favorite to do these days is the one that is in the new book Nth Degree by John Gustafaro, where you show the 2 sandwich cards and you put the card in the middle invisibly, and then when you turn it over it becomes visible. That's killer. That's absolutely killer. I love that. So that's another great card revelation, and probably like a spinning card where the card spins out of the deck and you catch it. Long distance spinner is good. I use a Paul Harris technique where I flick it with my little finger and it flies up and I catch it. I think for most performing environments, that's a really great attention grabber. You know, you just have the card fly out the deck and catch it. I can't do the hot shot cut by Daryl. It's one of those, I've tried for 30 years, man. I've never been able to do the hot shot cut by Daryl. And then I see kids that have been in Magic for like 2 weeks and they'll go, oh, this one? I'm like, oh, screw you. But if I could do the hot shot cut, that would be right up there as well. But I'll probably do a video on this. I think this would make a cool video, like my favorite card revelations of all time. But they're probably the 5 that spring to mind that I do probably more than others. Okay, so the next question again is from Yuri, who says, got some exciting news. Today I got exciting news that there's a magic competition taking place in my country early in July. This will be the very first competition I've ever gone to so far, and I was hoping if you had any tips on how to approach this, how to prepare, and just anything that's good to keep in mind, as I'm pretty nervous and I've forced myself to do it. Now, Yuri is in the Netrix, and he's a silver member of the Netrix. So we did a VMC recently with a live Q&A with me, and Yuri asked this question on the Q&A, and I answered it on the Q&A, and I think I gave a good answer. So with your permission, Yuri, I'm going to get Jack to take just the section of the Q&A out that we did in the VMC a couple of days ago. Just the section where I answered the question that you asked about competitions, and we'll put that in there because that's a more complete answer to the question than anything I could give you right now. So I'm going to roll that footage, and to be honest, I think that covers everything. And I remember at the time you saying that really helped. So let's roll that footage of me talking about competitions, and we'll roll that right now.
That was a small question that I just wanted to ask real quick. And another question, I'm going to cheat a little bit because I actually wrote this down in the comment section of your Q&A that went up today.
That's all right.
But I thought this might be a better question to ask like in person right now.
Yeah, I'll answer it here, and I'll do it on the Q&A as well. What you got?
Oh yeah, I was thinking of like maybe leading the question since you wouldn't have to answer it twice. But if you don't mind, it's right. Basically, what I kind of explained in the comment section is in a couple weeks, I have I'll be participating in this magic contest that a Dutch magic shop is organizing. And my question was, since it's my first time doing a contest in general, my question was if you had any like tips or tricks for me to keep in mind when doing this contest, because I will be really nervous. It's going to be my first time, so I was wondering if you had anything you could share with me that might help.
Okay. Yes. So first of all, on the Netrix, there is a video by Steve Della talking about magic competitions.
Hmm.
So if you search by artist on the Netrix and you look up Steve Della, you'll see a video that he put up there on, and Steve's won a bunch of different awards over the years. So it's definitely worth watching that. That is something valuable advice. But from my point of view, here's a few tips that I can give you. Number one, understand what the judging understand what the stipulations for the competition are. So, for example, what's the makeup of marks? You'll typically find that most competitions are, well, 20% of the marks are technical ability, 20% of the marks are presentation, 20% of the marks are this, 20% of the marks are that. Now, it varies from competition to competition, but you need to be aware of that. Let me explain why. For example, I entered the competition once. I don't really generally wear suits. It's not something I do. However, I entered the competition once and I looked at the marking criteria, and 20% of the marks were based on appearance. Well, I'm wearing a suit because if I don't, I've lost 20% of the marks immediately if I just turned up in jeans and a t-shirt. So I'm wearing a suit to do that competition. That's just the way it's going to be. But also, like, if 50% of the mark, well, you want to know whether technical ability or technique is taken into consideration in the marking. In some competitions, like FISM, technical ability is taken into consideration. Well, if you are entering and you're doing all self-working stuff, it doesn't matter how good the self-working stuff is. If they're not seeing that there's some technical skill in it, you're going to lose marks. Case in point, Ryland's currently putting together an act for the Young Magician of the Year, which is taking place in September. And we're putting together this, we call it the breakfast act. And it's about him waking up in the morning and like getting breakfast, and you hear a voiceover from me saying, go and get your orange juice. Vitamin C is good for you. And so the whole stage is going to be set up like a kitchen. And then he's going to go into the kitchen and he's going to be looking for an orange juice. But every single time he goes to try and take an orange juice, something happens. So he'll pour the orange juice into a glass, and when he goes to drink it, it's turned into an orange silk handkerchief. And so he's holding this carton of orange juice and it turns into a newspaper and all this sort of stuff. So it's a great act. But we looked at it and we were like, right, okay, so there's no technical skill in that at all. It's all prop based. And then we looked at the marking criteria, and 30% of it was on technical skill. So we added in a multiplying ball section, we added in a multiplying coin section, because we needed to show that there was skill there. If he didn't do that, he's going to lose 30% of the marks immediately off the bat. So understand the marking criteria is a big one. The other thing that I would say is try to make it unique and try to make it different. Generally, as a rule, you're not going to win by going in and doing an ambitious card and doing a coins across. It doesn't matter how good your ambitious card or how good your coins across is. You want to make it look different. You want to make it look unique. Look at some of the acts of FISM. Again, using Ryland as an example, the reason we put the Harry Potter act together was for him to enter a competition. And we wanted to make it very unique and very different. So think of a theme if you can. Now, it doesn't have to be an overarching. It's probably not a stage competition. It's a close-up competition. But think of a theme that runs through the whole of the competition act. It could be chocolate, for example. So it could be that you are producing chocolate bars. So one of the best magicians of all time. And has anybody here heard of Mark Sitcher? Okay. Bernard, I thought you might. Yeah, the dental act. I want you guys to do me a favor and at some point go on the internet, go on YouTube and find The Dental Act by Mark Sitcher. It's from back in the early 90s. He was the man when I was first getting into magic. Like he was the man. And it was very, very tragic. He died of cancer at the age of 23 after winning a ton of awards. He was the youngest person to win the Gold Cups. Like he won everything. And unfortunately, he passed away at a very, very, very young age. He was an incredible pickpocket, an incredible magician. And the act that he used to win everything was this dental act. And it was standard close-up items, but he would come out in a white dental costume and he'd say, hey, my name's my name's Mark, and I'm going to be doing some dental magic for you today. And he'd start off by producing a bottle of Listerine, then another bottle of Listerine, then another bottle of Listerine, then another bottle. Then he'd produce a toothbrush, and he'd produce another toothbrush. But he had lots of lines that were specifically for magicians. So he took these two toothbrushes and put the bristles into each other. And he went, "Oh, you don't know what you're seeing here. This is a perfect pharaoh." Like it was little things like that that were so funny. And then he was doing this thing with a coin. You know, when the coin goes through the rubber in the glass, the old thing that the coin he won all these competitions with that trick, right? But he started off by taking a coin and he said, just so you know, I practice safe magic. And he brings out this rubber gloves and puts it on his hand. And then he takes the coin and he does that, but he does it through the hand into the glove, which looked amazing. Like it's all stuff like that. It was an amazing act. And it's on YouTube somewhere. You can find it, Mark Stitcher Dental Act. But there's an example of somebody who's doing very standard close-up stuff. But the theming that he put together with it is just really, it gave it an overarching theme. Now, you don't have to wear a white coat and come out as a dentist if you don't want to, but think about something that you can use to theme the act to, and have a one of the big things that people look for when judging competitions, especially magic competitions, is structure. You want to try and make everything go full circle where at all possible. So if you've got an opening bit, try to have that come full circle at the very, very end. So there's a magical payoff from what happened at the very, very beginning. That's really important. Having that structure in there is really important. James Brown won the Magic Circle Close-Up Magician of the Year, and he won it with card and a box and some really hardcore sleight of hand. He went really heavy on the sleight of hand, but even then with that, there was a big structure and a big theming to it. Also, try if the think about who the audience is. So if the audience is magicians, which a lot of magic competitions are, if the audience is primarily made up of magicians, try to think of some jokes that work with magicians. So if you haven't already done so, go back and look at the interview I did on Talk Magic with Rob James. It was a couple of months ago. We talk about his act called the Laptop Act. And he won a bunch of stuff. And there's a link to that video. It's a private link on YouTube, but there's a link in the description of that video that you can go and watch that act. I still say it's the best competition act of all time. The entire act was taking the piss out of magicians. And one of the things that he did is he had a laptop. And he says, I've got a new piece of software running through this laptop. It's going to identify every single time I tell a bad magician joke. And so now he's doing his acts, but he's like, right, hold out your hand. No, not the clean hand, the other hand. Oh, that was the clean hand. And every time he says one of those jokes, you hear ding, and it goes from 1 to 2 to the ding, ding. And he's like, well, anytime you want to, I'm going to riff my thumb down the deck, say stop anytime you feel the urge. But if you had the urge, why would you stop? Ding, like it was, and it just the entire way through the act, it was just so funny because he was taking the piss out of these gags that magicians have used all the. But then it made sense because he was doing an any card at any number, and the number on the screen was the position that the card was in down in the deck. So it all came full circle. But he won not because of how technical it was, but because everyone in the audience was just laughing their arse off, and it was very unique and it was very different. That's the key thing. Try to show people something very different that they haven't seen before. It doesn't
That's
have
great.
a different move. It doesn't have to be a different, but something different, like the laptop of it. Before Piff the Magic Dragon became Piff the Magic Dragon, and he was John Vanderput. He entered the Blackpool Magicians Close-Up Magician of the Year, and he entered it, and I entered it, and I did a really awesome job. I had a great act that I put together, a really good act, and I thought I'd won it until John came out, and then I realized I didn't stand a chance because he made a fucking dog appear in a close-up competition. So had the but the whole thing was so in Mr. Piffles, before he became Mr. Piffles, he was John's dog, right? And what he did is he had this laptop on the screen, and the laptop was on the laptop was like a video camera of like outside of the Winter Gardens, which is where they hold the magic competition in Blackpool. It's where they hold the Blackpool Magic Competition. And there was this moment where he said, look, I've tapped into the security feed outside the Winter Gardens. This is what you're seeing right now. And he had someone pick a card, he had them sign it. And he made a joke about, hey, could I make a dog appear at the beginning of the act? And he pulled this little dog toy out, and he's like, there you go, there's my big start, now let's go into it. So he had someone sign a card, and he took the card and he sprung the cards at the laptop, and one card had stuck to the screen, and he's like, but if that was your card, would that be good? And they go, yeah. And he goes, go and take it off the screen. And they go, it can't, it's on the inside of the screen. And the screen was just like showing the outside of the Winter Gardens. And he sprung the cards at the screen. And now, when they went to go and take the card off the screen, it was on the other side of the screen. And he's like, oh, I'll be back in a minute. And then he fucking legs it out the competition room. He legs it. And everyone's like, what is going on? What the hell is going on? But what happened is then everyone was looking at the laptop screen, and you saw him running up to the laptop, running up on the screen to the outside of the Winter Gardens, apparently. And then he's like waving, and then he reaches over to the screen, takes off the card, and turns it round, and it's their signed card on the other side of the screen. And then he's like, I'll be back in a minute. And he runs back with this card, and he goes, was that your card? And he goes, yeah. And then he picks up the handkerchief that he used to produce the little dog at the beginning. Oh, I forgot my big finish. Here's another dog. And he produces Mr. Piffles. Well, it was at the second that I watched that act that I realized I was completely fucked. And there was no way I was going to win that one. So the point about that is, it needs to be unique. It needs to be very, very different. And then the big piece of advice I can give you, one last piece of advice, which is, don't watch the other acts before you go and perform. It does no good. I remember I've entered lots of competitions. Some I've won, some I haven't. And there was one where I was convinced I was going to win, and I didn't. And does anyone know Johann Stahl? He did Sleeveless Sleeving. You don't know Johann Stahl?
Oh,
Jesus
I know
Christ.
Sleep is Sleeping.
Well, that's
I'm not
Johann Stahl.
sure
Yeah,
about
that's
that.
the guy. Yeah,
Oh,
if you don't know Sleeveless Sleeving, go check it out. Jeremy, you should definitely check out Sleeveless Sleeving and Johann Stahl. Nobody knew who Johann Stahl was at that point, and I didn't. And I looked at the entire lineup, and I was like, I've got this. And then I watched Johann Stahl, and I was like, nope, no, I haven't. Oh fuck, I'm dead. And it knocked my confidence. Here's the thing: watching all the other acts before you go and perform, it's either going to give you a full sense of security and you're going to be too cocky, or you're going to look at somebody and go, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to beat them. And it's going to knock your confidence. I literally, when I used to enter competitions, I would lock myself in the other room and I would not watch any of the other acts until I had to go on. And then when I went on, I would leave, and then the results were the results. No good will come from watching anyone else before you go on. You should be focusing on your preparation, and then understand how many times you have to perform. Some closer competitions, you have to perform 3 or 4 times. Sometimes you have to perform once. If that's the case, make sure you reset time. Make sure you've got enough time to reset whatever your act is. Make sure that you've got time to be able to put it all back together again, because you don't want to be rushing and setting it up incorrectly. And find out where the judges are. Is there a judge in every group? Is there only one judge? In which case, which group is the judge in? All of this stuff is important things to take into consideration.
Thank you. That I'll definitely, yeah, that definitely helps. I'll definitely keep that in mind. That's a great help. That kind of reassures me a little bit. Thank you so much.
And watch Steve Deller's video as well.
Yeah, no, I definitely will. I didn't even know there was something about like competition magic on Netflix, but good to know.
Yeah, it's hang on a minute. Here it is. Competition search. There you go. That's the one. Steve Deller talks magic competitions.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, yeah. I'll definitely give that a watch.
Yeah, it's definitely worth watching.
Yeah, 100%. I'm still trying to come up with the routine with the exact things I'm gonna do. I have some ideas. Definitely gonna try to incorporate some one of your tricks at least. I'll definitely try to incorporate one of those.
Yes, please do. Please do.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely try. I'm thinking the magic button. I think that might be a really good contender. But I'll still think about it. If there's any video footage or anything on social media, I'll be sure to tag you in whatever.
Okay, so the next question is from William Lund, who says, "Hello, what are your favorite memorized deck effects for strolling magic?" Thank you very much. I call this the 2-person act. I don't think it's called the 2-person act, but I call it the 2-person act, where basically it's from the Buena Vista Shuffle Club. And it's basically, you say to a spectator, "Hey, we're going to create a 2-person act. You can be the mind reader, and I'm going to predict the future." And you do this whole routine where they read the mind and you predict the future. It's really, really good. I've got it up on I've put numerous videos up about memorized deck magic and different routines with memorized deck magic. That's a really, really good one. So you can go check a performance of that out. But it's in the Buena Vista Shuffle Club. It's probably one of my favorite routines to do in a walk around situation. Although I do also like card college. So that's my variation on card college in the Buena Vista Shuffle Club. The first 2 phases are the same, but then I go in a completely different direction. But you can do that routine without a table, just putting it into the spectator's hand. And then on the subject of that, on my forecast DVD, I put a way of doing an invisible deck using a memorized deck. Very different method to anything that Michael Close had a version in Workers number 5. This is a very different method, but it's a way of doing an invisible deck with a memorized deck. So you literally open up your set by bringing out a deck of cards, going through your invisible deck style routine, and you show that the card that's reversed in the deck is their card, and then there's a second phase as well as a kicker. That's very cool. That's something I do and walk around an awful lot as well. Trying to think, because obviously you've not got a table, so there's that to factor in. A lot of the time, just some jazzing, just jazz with the invisible deck. I did a video recently on jazzing with a memorized deck. Go and look at that if you haven't seen it. But I think that's the beautiful thing about Mem Deck, like being able to jazz with it. And then I like doing that Bill Malone style routine where they cut 3 people, cut packets, and you tell them the cards they're thinking of, and the last one you name all of the cards in the hand that they're holding. That's really good as well. That's on the Bill Malone DVDs that came out through L&L Publishing. So all of those will work great in a sort of a strolling situation. Okay, so the next question is from Archie Cox Magic. Hey Archie, hope you're well, buddy. Amazing Q&A as always, thank you. I'm writing this after just finished school, which makes me so happy, as it means I can now spend all my time practicing magic, and I'm going to join the Netrix, as I now have lots of time to be able to look at that. Great news, Archie. Congratulations on finishing school. I've come up with a routine for mind blocks, which I'm going to try in the summer once I've worked it in. I was wondering if you would mind me sharing it with you. I've also written a 2-hour stage show and wondered if I commented in the Q&A if you wouldn't mind giving me your thoughts on it. Yeah, on the next Q&A, film the Mind Blocks routine and link it in your question. I'll look at it and then I'll give you my feedback on it on the actual video, and also put down the set list for the 2-hour stage show, and I will happily comment on that as well. Absolutely not a problem. Now for your main question. I like the idea of using the theme of imagination in my magic. I like Imagine by Peter and Harry Nardi, and wondered if there's other tricks which would work well with this theme. Look, there's tons of routines that would work well, especially routines that empower the spectator. Right? If you've got a routine that empowers the spectator, that's normally the best way to go with that. So I'll give you an example from Ryland's show. I know you know Ryland, so I'll give you an example from Ryland's show, which honestly I think is the best way to use the haunted balloon. So he does a haunted balloon. If you don't know what that is, that's where you've got a balloon filled with helium. It goes down on command and it rises up on command. And he uses this routine, which is just killer. And what it is he's got the balloon there on stage the whole time. And he gets a kid up from the... Well, he starts off by saying, hey, one of the most important things as a magician is using your imagination. If you can use your imagination, you can do absolutely anything. Kids are great at using the imagination. Adults aren't so good. So if you're going to watch this, you need to be able to use your imagination. I'm also going to ask for somebody to come up and help me in a bit. And it's going to be a kid because, like me, kids have got a great imagination. But let me show you how powerful imagination is. Now, as he starts talking about this, the instrumental piano version of that Willy Wonka theme about, da, 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 that plays in the background as he's talking. So then he brings up the balloon and he says, this is a helium-filled balloon. Now, you know there's only one way a helium balloon can go, and that's up, unless you use your imagination. If you use your imagination, anything can happen. And then he stops and the music goes a little bit louder and he does this and nothing happens, and he kind of shakes his hand and does this again, and as he does it comes down, and it's a great moment because now the balloon's down here, it's gone down, everyone's freaking out. And he says, of course, the thing is, if you really, the hard part is make it go back up. You've got to imagine it going back up, and it doesn't work, and he shakes his hand and it goes back up, and the music's playing in the background, and it's wonderful, it's great. But then he says, look, let's see who else has got a good imagination. Who's got a good imagination? And he picks a kid and he says, right, stand by the side of me and hold my hand. So now he's holding the balloon here. It's raised high up in the air. He's holding this kid's hand. And then he says, look, use your other hand and try to make the balloon drop. Just do this, but you've got to believe. And this is such, every time he does this in a show, people are taking photos. He did it in a show just last week, and the mom of the kid was just crying her eyes out because this kid was on stage and was freaking out that he was doing this. He gets the kid to do this, and as he does, the balloon goes down, and he's like, you're doing it. You're using your imagination. That's amazing. It's such a cool moment. And he says now, he's got the kid's name now, Harry. The hard part's making it go up. Do you think you can do this? You got to use your imagination. Harry, go. And so Harry's doing this, and then the balloon slowly goes up. And it's amazing. And then he takes the balloon off the string, and he's got one of those sticks. He has sticks that you can put the balloon in. He ties it to a stick, and he says, Harry, this is for you. Always remember, no matter how old you get, you want to carry on using your imagination. And he just takes the kid and gets the kid to sit down. He closes his kid show with it now. It's just killer. It's goosebumps. Every time I see him do it, it's goosebumps. And the reason is he's empowering this kid to use their imagination, right? Now, you can do that with anything. Think about any trick. My trick empowerment with coins, where I'm making the spectator make the coins jump from one place to another. You can do the same presentation with that. Spectator cuts the aces, for example. Any routine, spectator as a mind reader, whatever. Any routine where you've got the spectator doing the magic, you can bring the theme of imagination into it. So if you want more clarification on that, let me know. But hopefully that kind of shows you what I mean using a very clear example. But yeah, congratulations, man. Congratulations on finishing school, and let me know how you find the Netrix. Okay, so the next question is from Golden Knights fan, who says, "Hi Craig, love the 2 recent 5x5 no slight specials that you've done. More please, thank you very much. I want to say one of the tricks, can't remember which one, helped me with a problem I was having with the John Bannon 4-sided Gemini, so thank you for that. You are welcome. Now on to my question. I'm a huge darts fan, have been since I could throw one accurately, and I was wondering if there's a way to incorporate a dartboard into a self-working trick where the spectator is the one who does the throwing, so by the time the reveal comes it looks like the whole thing was random, but in actual fact if they think back they were the reason the whole thing worked, rather than doing the whole you shuffle the deck, cut the card thing. Bit of a random question, any help would be appreciated. I could probably think through a bunch of different stuff. The thing that instantly comes to mind, right, would be to do an any card at any number with a Mirage deck and a dartboard. I think that would be very cool. So I think that what you could do is you could give them show that you've got a deck of cards and they're all different, obviously with a Mirage deck. Have them pick a card and show the card. Obviously it's going to be the Force card because it's a Mirage deck. Shuffle the cards, they're going to stay in the same order because it's a Mirage deck. Put the deck down on the table, and then say, right, you've got 3 darts. I'm going to have you throw all 3 at the dartboard. You're going to add up the 3 darts, and that's going to be the position in the deck. That's going to be truly random. And you say, look, if there's only 52 cards in the deck, if you go over 52, you're going to have to take the darts and go again. Okay. Every time I play darts, I probably get 7 anyway total. So they throw the darts, and let's say there's a 20, there's a I don't know, there's a double 7, and there's a 6. So you go 20 double 7, that's 14. So that's 34, and there's a 6, that's 40. That's 40, right? That's completely random. You threw 3 darts at a dartboard, and I think if they went over and they had to throw them again, it'd be even more dramatic. But then you just take the cards and you go boom, 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 boom. You deal to the 40th card. You go, look, if it's 39, it would be this card. Is that your card? No. If it's 41, it'd be that card. Is that your card? No. But you dealt 40, right? You're not going to believe this. Check this out. And you know what you could do? Could you do that? No, you couldn't. If only you could. No, ignore me. That's not going to work. But yeah, so you get to that position at the 40th card, and that's their card. I think that would bring the house down. It's completely self-working. It's just it's just a Mirage deck with a dartboard. But when I started reading your question and you were talking about darts and incorporating a dartboard, that's the thing that springs to mind immediately, to be perfectly honest. I'll think through other options for you, but let me know down below if that kind of is the sort of thing that you're looking for. Okay, so the next question is from Steedman99, who says, I get your justification for long tutorials. My issue is, since moving from DVDs, a lot of downloads don't have the times or synopses of what the tricks are. I only ever watch them on my phone. So, for example, if a trick is recommended, it's hard to find. Or if the names of tricks are included and there's no description. I wonder if creators would consider including a sheet with a small synopsis of the tricks included and the times on the download, similar to the old DVD sleeve, or even just a page of the download. Just a thought. Well, Murphys have this, but both Murphys and Penguin do this thing that when you start the video, it's time stamped at the beginning. So you can see what's at what section. But I totally get where you're coming from. I think that would be a good idea. And I can definitely speak to the big players that I actually work with. And as we move more into downloads and streaming, I think that's something that's worth doing. Or at least have a page, right? So when you access your download, there's a page there with all of the stuff, maybe descriptions of each thing. I think that'd be quite cool. I'll put it to the people that it's not something I can do, unfortunately. That's out of my pay grade, but I can definitely speak to people and see if that's a viable option and get back to you and see what they say. Okay, so the next question is from Agent Suter, who says, what's some props for close-up that look weird and interesting but are completely examinable? Sponge balls, sponge bunnies, anything made out of sponge, I think is worth saying is kind of pretty freaking weird. A chop cup is a weird thing. A normal looking chop. I know you can get normal chop cups or chop cups that are designed to look normal, but chop cup's a weird thing really to look at, isn't it? It's kind of like, what's this weird little metal brass cup that you've got that doesn't look like anything on God's green earth? That's kind of a weird looking prop. Rope. Who carries rope around with them? I remember when I first got into magic. Well, not first, but I remember when I was kind of first got into rope magic. and I was carrying, and what I do when I'm learning something, I take it with me and I just have it in my pocket and I do it all the time. So Sarah, this is before we were even married, let alone had kids. Sarah's always been used to me carrying coins around and stuff like that, and she's fine with it. But when I was carrying rope, I remember we were going to this big mall near us called the Merry Hill Centre, and I'd just been learning rope magic, and I remember walking around carrying like this big piece of rope, just tying it and popping knots off and stuff. And I remember going, "We fucking stop doing that. It's embarrassing." So apparently that was where Sarah draws the line with rope. Who knew? But rope kind of is a kind of weird thing to carry around with you as well, isn't it? I'm trying to think. Some mystery boxes are kind of really weird. Like I've got this see-through box, or I've got this little wooden box that looks like it could carry nothing other than a playing card. You know, it's like, what the hell is that? Why are you carrying this around again? What's the purpose of this thing? The Three Skulls and a Spike by Andy Nyman. It's just the weirdest looking thing ever. It's like this base with spike and three skulls. What the fuck is that? But it's, it's a completely examinable. It's an amazing routine. And that's the point. Well, the Grandpa's Necklace by TCC is another example of something that looks really weird. It's like 2 velvet cords and these 3 little see-through beads. Like, who carries those around with you? So I would say any of that stuff is kind of weird, but they're all completely examinable. And I don't have a problem carrying weird objects around with me. I think it's absolutely fine. I think if I'm booked as a magician and I'm there doing magic, it's kind of acceptable that I've got weird stuff that I'm carrying around with me. So there you go, guys. That is another Q&A in the bag. Once again, thank you for joining me right here on Magic TV. Now, don't forget, you want to see more videos like this, all you got to do is like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. If you want to have a question answered, make sure you get it into me as soon as possible. I'll get to it next Sunday. And finally, if you haven't already done so and you're not a Netrix member, go and join the Netrix. It's www.thenetrix.com. What you saw earlier on was a section from one of our VMCs. We have 4 of those a week on the Silver Session, and they're all recorded and dropped into your accounts. You want to know more, go check out the Netrix, see what all the fuss is about. Either way, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. My name's Craig, and this is Magic TV.